Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? It seems like that's the in thing right now. Well, do I have the people for you? Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and extremely easy to use. And now, Anchor will match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid for podcasting right away. To get started, go to anchor.fm/start. Once again, that's anchor.fm/start. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the J. Stevens Podcast, part of the Off the Ball Network. This is episode 196, dedicated to a man who on May 18th, 1972, made 63 consecutive free throws while blindfolded? Mr. John Sebastian. And as always, thank you for listening and downloading another episode of the podcast. On today's episode, we talk a little bit about why a masseuse was banned from the Ohio State campus. The A's are talking about relocating. I got 5 possible cities that they should go to. And last but not least, my thoughts about spring football at the college level. But first, in sports, we grow to love and enjoy certain people that broadcast the games. From basketball to football to baseball to hockey, Doc Emmert, to tennis, Chris Fowler. We learn to love, enjoy, and we gravitate towards games that certain guys are calling. Recently, a lot of people love Gus Johnson. A lot of people love Kevin Harlan. A lot of people love Ian Eagle. The list goes on and on and on. But there's only one, and will only be one, Marv Albert. At the end of this year's Eastern Conference Finals, TNT broadcasts that Marv Albert will be calling it quits. I'm a youngster, mid-90s, late 90s, NBC Game of the Week, NBC broadcast basketball. When you heard that round ball rock intro music, oh my goodness, it does something to you. It does something to you whenever you're looking out there and you know marquee game, maybe Pacers, maybe Bulls, maybe Knicks, maybe Lakers, maybe some Rockets. I mean, whoever is playing at that time, you know, you hear that music, it's going to be a big game. And there were 2 guys that I remember calling basketball games back at that time. One, Bob Costas, who I think is immensely underrated as a basketball play-by-play broadcaster. And the other, Marv Albert. Marv Albert, to me, was the guy growing up. He just screamed basketball. I mean, you like a voice nowadays, you hear Ian Eagle's voice, or you hear really mainly Kevin Harlan's voice. It means big-time game. It means you better be right there in your seat, focused on the TV screen to witness what they're about to call. And Marv Albert's that guy to me growing up, man. I mean, Marv Albert, crisp. You knew you were going to get a concise called game. You knew you were going to get he's going to get the ebb and flow and the maneuvering and what is the word I am looking for? The momentum of the game as it goes back and forth. I don't understand. I don't know why it took me so long to follow and to get the word momentum to come out of my mouth, but here we are. The momentum, the ebbs and flows, the roller coaster of the game. It's rare to find somebody that can do it better at a high level consistently than Marv Albert. This is a tweet last week's guest Damon Amendolara put on Twitter, and it really reminded me about how versatile Marv Albert is. Damon Amendolara says, quote, Marv Albert is undeniably the GOAT of basketball play-by-play, but he also may be the most versatile sportscaster ever. NBA, TV and radio, NFL, TV and radio, NHL, New York Rangers radio, local sportscaster on Evening News WNBC New York, and late night talk show appearances, the Albert Awards, end quote. This is about a few years ago now. I had heard about how Bob Costas and Marv Albert, and there was one more broadcast, Al Michaels, about how they had been doing so many sports when they were getting their feet wet and getting into broadcasting, that they were going to have all 3 of them, Al Michaels, Bob Costas, and Marv Albert, do a boxing match. And I didn't get the broadcast. I don't really watch boxing. But just thinking about those 3 together, everything that they have done, yes, Bob Costas more baseball. Al Michaels, people know him for the Miracle on Ice, which was not the final game. It was the semifinal game, and then the Team USA had to go on and win the championship the very next game. Al Michaels now, most people know him for football, but Marv Albert was very versatile. Marv Albert, people nowadays associate him with the basketball, but he's so much more than a play-by-play broadcaster. He can do it on TV. He can't do it on radio, which is a whole lot harder than the average person or fan would think it is. And I just can't wait to see what TNT does on his last broadcast, which will be coming up before we know it. But I got one request to hit the Twitter, and I'm going to hit it, send it to you guys right now as well. ESPN broadcast the finals. They allowed Craig Sager to work an NBA Finals game when he was getting really, really sick, or he was really, really sick. They said, hey, Craig, we know what this means to you. You've never done an NBA Finals game. Doris Burke backed away and let Craig Sager do his thing. ESPN, allow Marv to do at least one more game in the NBA Finals. Because I think for NBA basketball fans, just fans in general, and Marv Albert, it'll be very, very memorable to know that ESPN, Mike Breen, backed away, allowed Marv Albert to come in and broadcast that game. If he wants to do it remotely, I understand it. Go right ahead and do it. If he wants to go there and do it in person, let Marv do what Marv wants to do because he means that much to this game. Let's go and take a trip to Columbus, Ohio, because there is a masseuse in Northeast Ohio that got banned from the Ohio State campus. Why? Stick around to find out. The middle part of last week, I was scrolling on the Twitter, and lo and behold, I saw this report from Letterman Row, 11 Warriors, Patrick Murphy from Bugnuts.com, the 24/7 sports site that covers the Ohio State Buckeyes, Cleveland.com. I mean, I follow quite a few beat writers for Ohio State, and so I am looking around here and I'm seeing, wow, you got that story, you got this story, you got that story. What in the world is going on? I see massage therapist banned. Ohio State went through a thorough 2-month-long investigation, and I'm thinking, what is this? What level of seriousness is this? Is this a true, real story? Is this a story that is going to get all the headlines, be the talk of the town, just like Justin Fields was, because it's the Ohio State University and people look at them different than, say, in Alabama or in Auburn or in Oklahoma or Texas or USC? The Ohio State University is normally the talk of the town during the offseason for recruiting, sometimes for things that aren't recruiting based, that aren't really that good at all. But this story here, on the surface, and I see everybody talking about it, I think, oh, this is very, very serious. This is very, very something that you should be on the edge of your seat for, and you should brace yourself for before you read what's inside of that article. However, I think there's some comedy in this story. And y'all know if there's some comedy, Jay's going to try and pull that thing out. All right, so there's a 41-year-old masseuse. She lives about 2 hours away from the campus, and she got herself involved in some, let's just go ahead and use this term, extracurricular activities at Ohio State with some athletes. How? How did she get this far? Let me explain. You know the term now, slide into the DMs. I mean, you may be somebody that when you see somebody's picture on the Instagram or on the Facebook or on the Twitter, you go ahead and you try to slide in those DMs. You try to get in with them. You try to make sure you try to fill your way around and make sure they're a cool person. And then it's bam, you give them your number, and bam, you try to take that person out. Well, this young lady here, 41-year-old masseuse, Rachel Bassany, I believe is her name, and she had a plan to give these young men a massage. She said in her own testimony, she gives massages to professional athletes on a regular basis. So why not go ahead and attempt to give massages to 18 to 22 young men that are football players at the Ohio State University? It might seem a little odd that this is the way that she's going about this very thing, but instead of going through the school, she decided to take matters into her own hands to make this thing happen. This 41-year-old got in contact with a few players. I'm not sure exactly how many players she got in contact with, but she got in contact with those players. They set up a time. She's, like I said, 2 hours away. She went ahead and, started to perform this massage. I don't know exactly how many players. I got to reiterate that once again because this was no ordinary massage. There's a reason why I used extracurricular activities early on in this conversation. So this young lady, a masseuse, it's what she does for a living. She's a professional. She gives massages. But this young lady decided to go a little bit further, go step outside the boundaries of her license so she can keep that thing. She started to violate some of the parameters for her to keep her license. This young lady said, well, we'll start giving a massage and I will start to inappropriately touch the player. I don't know if it was every player. I know there was a few players she inappropriately touched. If there was a time that the player didn't like the inappropriate touch, she backed away and kept everything professional. But once again, I'm going to remind you, I'm going to say some things very, very clear. Maybe she didn't think about if I start to go inappropriate, do some inappropriate touching, that maybe, just maybe, I am stepping outside of my professional boundaries when doing so. I don't think she thought that far. She was just trying to have some fun. If the player said, hey, I consent to what you're going with, I consent with this act that this road you're trying to go down, they kept on going down that road and they left that professional table or the act that she was doing before. So some players didn't like it, some players did, and we got consenting adults doing what consenting adults do at times: enjoy some extracurricular activities. And I was talking to some Ohio State guys, and actually I'm doing some shows. I didn't talk to really anybody about this really. Someone asked me, that's what it was. Somebody asked me last week, what is this story with this masseuse? And I basically said this masseuse slid into some DMs, wanted to give massages, and her and some players consented to have sex. Yeah, that's basically it. It's adults having sex with adults. It's really, really odd, but I wonder if this young lady really, really thought through her actions before going through with the attempt to, well, have a little fun. Because you know me, I may know you. If there's something that I know about a masseuse or a massage parlor or somebody that might be an independent contractor that is a masseuse, is that you never know who you're messing with. As someone that gets massages, try to get them on a regular basis, at least once a month, sometimes a little bit more than that, a little bit more frequently. There was a time I was able to go every other week. Y'all must not realize, y'all might not know. If y'all don't get a massage, if you don't get massages regularly, I thoroughly encourage you to go do that thing. Go ahead and do that. Treat yourself. Because you work hard. You might be a father. You might be a mom. You might have some kids. You might be a teacher. You might be a busy person, always on your feet, or you might be sitting in your chair. Your posture might get a little out of whack, and you owe it to yourself to go get a massage. Trust me, go do that thing. And then once you do that, tweet at me at jsteven07. Just go ahead and confirm with your boy and say, Jay, you are right. You were exactly right, because I deserve that. I owed myself a massage. I know some women, I see it on the Instagram and on the Twitter. Some of y'all go out there and get the manicure, get the pedicure. Some of y'all drag your boyfriends or husbands out there with you because you know they won't go solo. You got to take them with you. How about the next time you think about getting a pedicure, go ahead and get that hot stone massage. Go, trust me. Go ahead and do that thing. Go ahead and do it. Because you owe it to yourself. And I venture some of these Ohio State football players, this is all football related, no basketball. I venture that some of those football players, they were saying to themselves, I deserve this. I owe it to myself to go ahead and get this massage. Why? We work hard, man. Ryan Day makes us work hard, and we are always working, always grinding in the weight room, doing these sprints, and in the weight room and doing these sprints, and constantly hitting in practice. I owe myself to get this massage. And maybe, I'm just saying, I'm just gonna have a little fun here. Maybe there's a player out there that said, well, maybe she initiated it. Man, it felt kind of good. So how about we just go ahead and enjoy a little extracurricular activities with this young lady who is a masseuse because, well, I mean, she offered it. Somebody told me if somebody offers, never back down from that. I don't think this is a big story, which is why I'm having so much fun, trying to have fun with this little conversation here. She's 41. The young men that were involved were between the ages of 18 and 20. They were all of legal age. The young lady did get her license permanently removed. She could no longer go down that field. It was the State Board of Ohio. I had the proper name written down somewhere in my notes, but the state took her license away. She violated she violated the rules of parameters. She can no longer do that thing. Ohio State went through and interviewed 117 former and current players, 44 different coaches. They interviewed the masseuse. They had the local authorities. They had the Big Ten and the NC2A involved as well. Why? Because everybody knows. You can think back to Jim Tressel and some tattoos. Think back to Urban Meyer and Zach Smith. Think back to Urban Meyer and the different individuals that he has had in his program over the years that might not be the model citizens, that might have broken a rule or two, might have been involved with the gang. But there's one rule or one main goal or one main focus: win the football games. And Urban Meyer did a lot of that. But Ryan Day, I believe, is having a different approach or a similar approach. Win a lot of football games while running the right kind of program as well. Urban Meyer, we can all learn a lot from him. Ryan Day, we can learn a lot from him as well from what we're seeing him do at Ohio State. No nonsense kind of guy. I like it, as well as developing young men to be successful on and off the field. Speaking of being successful, I'm sure this young lady thought she'd be successful in going about this way to have a little fun. The last thing she thought that would happen was for this to be the case. But imagine, I'll close out with this be the case that she lost her license. But I'll close this segment out with this. Imagine if the story happened down in the SEC or the Big 12. And I'm thinking about Bill Self, Kansas Jayhawks, Sean Miller, Arizona, who just lost his job, USC. We all know what some things that happened with USC, Reggie Bush, OJ Mayo. Think about what would have happened down at Alabama, LSU, Tennessee, LSU, not just football, but basketball as well. Will Wade still has his job, and he's a known cheater. Think about all these things. Would the coaches have taken things as serious as Ryan Day did? I don't think so. Ryan Day, a very successful coach at CBS Sports, is going to be releasing their rankings of the top college football coaches in this upcoming season. We'll possibly talk about that next week. I think Ryan Day is going to be solidified in the top 10. I don't know if he's a top 5 just yet. Only coached 2 seasons. This is embarking on year 3. Hasn't won a national championship. So I don't know if he's in that top 5. But we do know one thing. Ryan Day can coach. And if you come to Ohio State and start acting a fool, he going to kick you out. If you would have told me 10 years ago that in back-to-back seasons or in a short period of time, you would have the Warriors move from Oakland to San Francisco, you would have the Raiders move from Oakland to Vegas, and potentially have the Oakland A's move from Oakland to a destination that is to be determined, I would have said, you're crazy. That makes no sense. Those fans in Oakland, well, not so much the A's, but the Raiders and the Warriors, they love their teams. They immensely love their teams. That's not going to happen. But in the midst of the run, the Warriors did move from Oakland to San Francisco, and you saw those tickets, the prices go through the roof. The Raiders, they moved from Oakland to Vegas, and well, their new stadium makes it make a lot of sense. And the A's are the next that are on the table to potentially leave Oakland. What is it with Oakland and why the A's? The Oakland A's announced last week that they will begin exploring possible relocation options after receiving the okay to do so by Major League Baseball. The A's declaration is likely designed to pressure the local government into approving plans for a new waterfront ballpark at the Howard Terminal site. You want a new stadium, a new waterfront stadium, and all of a sudden the thought of relocation is your negotiation tactic when everybody knows there's a good chance that you may be leaving because the NBA team left, the NFL team left. All that's left is the Major League Baseball team. They ain't got no NHL team there. And if the Major League Baseball team leaves, they got nothing. But I got to thinking, if this is actually something that goes through, if this is something that might possibly go into action, where should the A's go? I got a list of 5. Actually, I got more than a list of 5, but I got a list of 5 different cities that I think would be ideal spots, phenomenal spots for the A's to relocate to if they can't get the local government going through this odd or using this odd negotiation tactic. It's not really odd, it's actually kind of smart. The negotiation tactic, as someone used to sell cars, I've seen a lot of people use a lot of different ways to negotiate. And honestly, saying you're going to leave and going through the motions and acting like you're going to leave, it's a great way to get things from the city or the person you're trying to get something from. So 5 different cities that I think will be phenomenal landing spots or possible landing spots for the Oakland A's if they actually leave Oakland and play the baseball somewhere else. Number 1 on my list, the top of my list, the place that I live, Indianapolis. Currently, the Indianapolis city hosts only one minor league or Major League Baseball team. It is a AAA affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Indianapolis Indians. Victory Field, a phenomenal, beautiful ballpark. In Major League Baseball in Indianapolis, the fans love their sports. The fans love everything about the baseball, the basketball, the football, the college, the pro, the high school. They love it. And with the sports town that Indianapolis is, and seeing the way that the whole country saw how Indianapolis can put on a major tournament within the past 3 to 4 months. I forget exactly how little amount of time they had to put this on, but Indianapolis is the ideal spot for a big event, and adding one more big pro team here in Indianapolis makes a lot of sense. And it's not just my list. So you can look at others. A lot of people think, or actually a lot of people know, Indianapolis, a sports town. It makes sense. It's a phenomenal place if you want to work in sports. Indianapolis is a great place to live. And when it comes to sports, you got the Colts, you got the Pacers. Why not add the Indianapolis Athletics to the list of pro teams that reside in Indianapolis? Number 2, this is more regional. You want a waterfront stadium? Portland, Oregon. You stay in the same division. You don't have to worry about changing divisions and realigning the Major League Baseball. It gives the Seattle Mariners a regional rival, which everyone loves. You got your Red Sox, you got your Yankees. You got your White Sox, you got your Cubs, same city. You got your Cubs, you got your Cardinals. You got your Reds and Cubs. I mean, Reds and Cubs nowhere near the Cubs and the Cubs and Cardinals, but you get the gist. You get what I'm talking about. You get what I'm trying to put out there. The Portland, Oregon, the Portland Athletics, keep the same name, not keep it. Trust me, it would be phenomenal, ideal, amazing, not just for those players, but the coaches to stay in the same time zone, because moving time zones when you got kids, I know Major League Baseball, I know the team, they'll do whatever they want to. The owner will move wherever he wants to, but Indianapolis, a phenomenal landing spot. Portland, number 2 on my list. Number 3, going right in order. Actually, I'm rearranging it right now as I speak because I'm looking at it. It's not in order. Nashville. The Nashville Predators. Nashville or Tennessee Titans, which also reside in Nashville. And then you add a Major League Baseball team, the Nashville Athletics. I'm just going to roll with the same name, the same team name, the A's. I don't know if they would change that or not. But Nashville is a fun city. Think about all of the different ways they can implement the Country Music Hall of Fame into the game and into how they entertain the fans and into having different celebrities come in and sing the national anthem and sing whatever song they want to perform at the game. It would be great. You got Indianapolis, you got Portland, you got Nashville. The other city on my list, number 4, it was number 2, but I had to rearrange, I think, just a tad. San Antonio. This past year, when the NC2A decided to have a bubble for their men's and women's national championships, the men's, for basketball that is, the men's, Indianapolis, the women's, San Antonio. San Antonio is one of those cities that people could say it slept on. A lot of people don't respect what San Antonio is as a city, as a sports town, and what it brings, not just to Texas, but what it brings to the country every single year. In San Antonio, I would love it. Now, you do have a team in Dallas. You have a team in Houston. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I'm sure there's another baseball team in Texas as well. But San Antonio, I'm really surprised the only pro team that they have is the Spurs. I think it's way past time to put another team, another professional team in the state of Texas. Go ahead and move that thing to San Antonio and the East Coast. I know a lot of you out there are thinking, what about us? What about us? What can we do? We're going to go ahead and go all the way out to North Carolina and go to Charlotte. No, I'm not going to Florida. No, I'm not going to Georgia. Not going to South Carolina. Let's go to North Carolina. Charlotte. I was up in the air between Virginia doesn't really have a team. You could go to the Northeast, but they got quite a few up there. Charlotte, North Carolina. Got the Carolina Panthers. Got the Charlotte Hornets. And why not add another Major League Baseball team out there as well? A phenomenal sports town, a phenomenal spot to add a Major League Baseball team. It would be Charlotte, North Carolina, Indianapolis, Portland, Nashville, San Antonio, and Charlotte. What's your 5? Tweet at me at JSteven07. Almost stuttered when saying my own Twitter name, which has my own name in it. At JSteven07. Go ahead and tweet at me. Let me know what your 5 is, how you may differ with the possible landing spots or 5 cities that you may think the A's should go to. Speaking of things that have been rearranged and people have moved and things have gone and people have had to alter things and the A's might move from Oakland to another city. Well, this past fall, it was announced that the FCS level would not have the college football season played at that level. It would move to the spring. Actually, I believe the announcement came in the summer last year, not in the spring, but you get where I'm going. Spring football, it was okay to watch. I mean, it was decent. It was kind of fun to turn the TV on a Saturday and see some college football. But what are you competing against? College baseball, which is its normal time of year. College softball, which is its normal time of year. Track and field, for some people that are watching the track and field, nowhere near as popular as the football, but you're still competing against things that are constantly going on that time of year. Do I really think spring football is an ideal thing? Do I think it could work? I do think it could work. I am a person that believes that the spring football could work. I do think it would hinder a couple things. You're going to have some of your top-end talent not play because they want to go into the NFL draft and be professionals at the pro level of football. I get that. That's expected. Not going to knock that. That's one thing that could happen. It could work. It would just alter some of the recruiting things, alter when players from the high school level do end up going to the FCS level or D2 level or D3 level or whatever level of spring football that you have. It could work. Also, might I add, I was on the YouTube one day. I was on a Friday night, and I saw some high school football on the YouTube. It could work. But for long-term success, not immediate success in the short term, but for long-term success, the spring football makes sense? Absolutely not. Let's go down to the high school level. A lot of guys that play high school football play multiple sports. Some of them play in the spring. Now, many of them that play high school sport or high school football in the fall, some of them play basketball or do a winter sport, basketball or wrestling. But if you play the fall football in high school, you might play baseball or do the track, or you might have a job. Because I remember myself in high school, I got my first job junior year. Junior year, we by football in the fall, didn't do anything in the spring. Got my first job in February, I believe, of 2006. January, February, somewhere around there. I know it was right before I ended up going to a funeral for one of my good friends passing away. That's how I kind of remember when dates are in my life. Major life events happen, and then it coincides with another major life event. It's kind of how I remember all that stuff. I remember that after the funeral, I ended up going to after the funeral that day on a Saturday, I had to go to work that night and close up shop at the Starbucks. But I do remember, you get a job in high school. A lot of guys, and then luckily my job, when the next season came around, my boss said, sure, we'll cut down your hours, but once the season's over, you're going to work some more, right? Of course, I want some money. My mom don't want to put gas in my car consistently and buy all the food for me when I was in high school. No. Yeah, I'm gonna come back and get some more hours because, I like some money coming in. You need money to survive in life. Spring football. Could it work? Absolutely. But I don't think it's ideal. From the high school level, it doesn't make sense because a lot of you guys a lot of the top end talent, recruiting wise, they're leaving school. They're enrolling early in January of the upcoming year. Some of them finish school and then enroll and then come to school in May, maybe June, whatever they are able to finish their high school and then leave their local area and then go and play the football. And college, please, let's just stop this. Let's just stop it. My one fear or my one caution for playing the football in the spring, now it was an abbreviated season, so they're not playing 10, 12 games plus a playoff, which I think would be grueling and really could be troublesome on the body because you're not giving the body the proper amount of time to recover before going into another season. I sure hope the FCS, the D2 and D3 levels, and NAIA get back on track and have the fall football next season. It's football. We play football in the fall, not football in the spring. You also deal with the weather because you could have a season that is nothing but cold weather from 20 to 30 degrees in February and March, and then you could have an early April. It could be really, really cold, 30s, 40s. That's not ideal for players to be at the best, at the top of their games consistently. There are so many other factors. Spring football is cool in the short term immediately. I know we're in a time where things are changing and people are moving and people are signing petitions in the change.com era that we're in. Oh, we don't like something? Sign this petition. Oh, that person, they messed up my haircut. Let's cancel them. Oh, we want to alter and cancel so many things. Altering the college football season at the FCS level, I would have said play it in the fall. It's a good alternative for this year. Nah, baby. Let's keep football in the fall. Let's just go ahead and do that thing. Let's get back to having the football season when it's normally played. Thank you so much for listening and enjoying another episode of the Jay Stevens Podcast. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can also send all of your emails to jstevenspod@gmail.com. Remember to always subscribe, rate, and review. It's a great way for people that are searching for a new podcast to listen to come across this one. Then remember to always get the word out about the podcast via word of mouth. The things that we enjoy in life, we are almost willing and somewhat wired to tell other people about. So no matter if this was your first episode or if you have been listening since episode number 1, be sure to let people know about the podcast. This has been episode 196 of the Jay Stevens Podcast. I will see you next time.